Well, let's head to picks and bans for game number 2 right away. And we'll see how these teams kind of face off against one another. If OutCold can take a second game and win this one right here and now, or if Mv3 on the other side can find a way to get rid of the chocolates. I want you know how I do that from time to time. I kind of just weave it in easy. I can't do
Not with a straight face.
No. So I gotta leave the chocolate sauce at home.
Don't get lost in it though.
That's true. That's true.
You don't want to get lost.
That's true. Bans coming out. Mv3 going for the same left side bans that we saw last time. Freya's banned this time around. She wound up on OutCold Gaming's roster. Freya ban, Bacchus ban, and then we see the Arthur and the Nanja, 2 characters that are just a little too strong in a lot of people's mentality. That said, that leaves a couple of characters. Hera, and it will be the Hera.
Hera is one of these guys that just controls a lot of space with Argus, and when you get polymorphed and you don't have purification beads, it's like so obnoxious.
I don't view Hera as one of these must-ban, overpowered characters right now. I think Hera's strong in her own right, but certainly not a needs to be banned. So the first pick, I'm not offended, but I don't think that they kind of. When you first pick an Arthur or something, I go,
sure,
all right, you're looking good. We'll try and lose. But I think that with the Hera, it's a little bit more composition dependent.
I agree. And also, it's misleading when you're trying to gank a Hera because of that shield aspect. You have to, you know how much damage you're about to do, but then you have to also calculate the added damage extra from that Hera shield and then the mobility that she gets from that ability.
Xbalanque and Khepri, the choices here for Mv3, OCG, Bakasura, and Jing. They do have the option of going Achilles in that solo lane. Of course, we've seen some creative players with Thanatos, etc. But it will be the Achilles that's going to show up, likely in the solo lane, as Bakasura is already selected. What's your take on Baka solo? No way, no how?
Baka solo definitely works against certain warriors that doesn't have too much clear. Like if they have half clear, like Guan, for example, his clear gets better as he progresses in level. So it's about shutting him down early. Don't let him become that team fighting presence. But normally you want to keep Baka in the jungle because of that passive, getting extra movement speed after every single minion killed is going to allow him to just gather all the camps up.
So this likely to be the Achilles over there on the short side. Again, the reason I bring up the executes is because of how effective they are against Khepri. It negates a Khepri ult. The execute goes through it, and you don't get revived. So certainly something to keep in mind. And I think OCG did themselves a favor by selecting the Achilles here before the secondary ban phase. OCG looking directly at the jungle as far as their bans are concerned. No Susano, no Jungle Monkey. And then, of course, Mv3 taking care of the Terra. And the Poseidon leaves Kumbhakarna. The choice here for OCG. Like that choice.
They need some real follow-up from this Kumbhakarna, like some big, heavy-hitting magical damage. I think what really allowed them, what Mv3 got well in that last game was, I believe, the Agni in that one team fight. That's the only reason that they won that one team fight at the 27-minute mark. But now that they have Hera, they're going to really need to rely on their front line to create and separate that distance. This time, OutCold Gaming, they have these backline penetrators. Bakasura, Achilles, Kumbhakarna even can go in and out. Giannis wouldn't be a bad look here.
Agni again. Okay. I never think Agni is a poor choice because of the ability to dash and the long-range stun. I think that is always relevant. The reason I said Giannis, a lot of the characters in OCG, like you said, backline penetrators, give him a portal to get on out. And, of course, you have the through space and Tim to go ahead and play off of the setup brought to you by Kumbhakarna. Agni's got a bunch of bombs. We'll see if it's enough bombs to bring home a secondary win. OCG, Mv3, Finch, Ryan, Game 2.
Mavericks have some improvements to make if they want to grab the win after that game 1, but maybe not as many as you would have thought. They were close with them, Ryan, for most of that game. And does this comp look like it has those adjustments you want to see? They've got the Guan Yu now, Hera in the middle lane, and a very strong Hunter in Xbalanque.
And they don't have to worry about building anti-heal this game. So yeah, I like it. I like where they're starting this time. Jox back on the Pele is the biggest thing for me. And I think that Jose showed some pretty good instincts on trying to save his teammates with Geb Shield. We'll see if those same instincts serve him well on the Khepri this time around. But I think Khepri Xbalanque is a very strong duo lane to have at this point.
Time to see how this solo lane works. This is essentially just the reverse, right? It was FataliTyxFire on the Guan and Loki on the Achilles. So now we'll see how that swap works. We saw a swap in the SPL. It was with King Arthur, and it went over to Aqua after a couple rough games. It didn't. Didn't quite work there.
Why you gotta blow up my man's on Space Station like that? Huh?
I don't know. I just was thinking about
it.
It's
just a Monday.
Right, and it's not no real reason.
Right, and you just had to bring up variety doing that.
It was rough. It wasn't the roughest we've seen. The roughest we saw was undoubtedly in the console league when Wolves put the hurting on. Who was it that Wolves put the hurting on?
Predators?
It was
at
Predators.
LAN
That's
last
right.
year.
It was a rival Predators.
Why are you doing my man Predators like that?
Well, you made me seem like
What,
a bad
you
guy.
got to hold a bunch of cupcakes and all of a sudden you're just raging?
Yeah, it was a lot of sweetness from all those cupcakes. I got to balance it out.
I guess so. That was pretty savage of him. Aren't you worried that like people are going to confuse you for Hindu Man, who's the savage?
I am worried, and I'm not even worried they're going to confuse me. I'm worried that Hinduman will be bad because he'll have lost his bit, like his identity. You know,
Right.
And, like now that's my thing. And what is he?
I can't believe you just said that on air. That's your thing now.
Kinder Warrior in some trouble. Has to jump back. Does make it out of there. I don't know if I would have given this to them. I guess early game. I guess against the Bakasura, maybe so. Especially if they're able to fight from this range. The Hera Pele up against the Bakasura Agni. But that trade heavily favored Mv3.
Baka doesn't really fight particularly well pre-5. He just out-secures you a lot of times, and that's why he's thought of as a more early game god. Once he hits level 5, every time his ultimate is up, he can fight you. But he needs some levels and items before he becomes real scary.
Early solo lane gank didn't quite go very well. Looks like they maybe weren't on the same page because JhoX blinked in and got the knockup, but Lokiberto didn't really follow up at all. So maybe it was a little bit too early before Loki had his cooldowns, or Loki didn't believe they had kill potential. But either way, FataliTyxFire just kind of steps back.
Yeah, there's not a lot of follow-up that Lokiberto can really provide. Talu Assault's a channeled ability that takes a while to really stack up its damage, and with FataliTyxFire right on his tower line, I think that was a little optimistic, to say the least, from JhoX.
Very safe was FataliTyxFire in that position. And so is Jose Rito, it turns out. Jumping in aggressively as OhMyJhox Beast, that's enough to proc the passive, but with the minions here, I don't think they'll actually be able to kill him from this position, as Just Lion does block some autos, and mrsacx does revive.
Just Lion almost gifted himself his first blood instead, but a little bit too much tunnel vision there from Beast. I think 2 autos on the Just Lion from where he was on the HP bar probably would have been enough to get first blood on the higher value target in that position, but as I said, I think a little bit too much tunnel vision from Beast.
They at least force mrsacx to back, and they're going to try and strip away the purple. Red buff as well. As Cynortas and Kinder Warrior aren't in position, so the red buff has been secured. Now what about purple? mrsacx wants to be here for this fight as well. So does Kinder Warrior, though. He's rotating over in the back end as Argus has already been dropped down. The jump comes in, but there's a sprint to make sure there's no slow. Kinder Warrior can't stick to the Hera, but he can to Jose Rito. But they don't want that fight either. They'll just take their purple.
Kind of an odd fight across the board. Daddy Pope just too low on mana to really do a whole lot. He drops Argus, but then calls Argus back, and then doesn't assign Argus to anybody. It feels like it should be really easy, right? It really is if you just press the buttons that you need to be pressing, but you can't just drop Argus and let him roam free. You have to remember to consistently be assigning him to who you want him to kill as soon as he lands. And in that position, I think that Daddy Pope, even when he's out of mana, can assign Argus to be hitting mrsacx or Kinder Warrior and keep them off of him a little bit more efficiently than what we saw.
You think he's the real Pope?
You're asking me if I think the current Pope
Yeah.
of the Catholic Church
Right. I
is
bet he has a lot
playing
of time.
mid lane for MV3.
Yeah. Why wouldn't he?
I
You tell me you don't think the Pope's good at video games?
Probably not.
Yeah, you don't
I'll
know.
go out on a limb here.
You don't know that for sure. You know
I
what?
don't.
Until I get some proof, I'm just going to assume that's the Pope.
You know, Finch, you've started a fight that is probably not in your best interest. One of my very good friends from high school, his brother is a priest, and I'm going to ask him if he thinks the Pope plays for Mv3 eSports.
He probably knows, as FataliTyxFire knows what his kill potential is, and finds the 1v1 solo kill onto Lokiberto underneath the tier 1 tower. Meanwhile, the rest of MV3 are trying to steal the red buff. Kinder Warrior can keep pushing in. He's got ultimate. Jose Rito is forced into the Scarab's Blessing. He procs it happily, knowing he'll be waiting right there for the kill in the back end. Cynortas follows up. That's 2 quick ones for OutCold across the map.
Great secure as well by Kinder Warrior on the enemy red buff. Eat minion, hard to beat. It's hard to beat these autos from Volcanic Lightning, but a great stun from Cynortas and the turnaround Flame Wave. Enough to put down JhoX. It started to pour out here on MV3. They lose the solo kill in the right side of the map by a good execute by FataliTyxFire, and then they lose red and multiple kills to Cynortas on their own red.
But that's about the most on-brand fight we've seen from OutCold yet this set. Is Cynortas and Kinder Warrior in particular having great synergy together and just outplaying their opponents. It's exactly what we saw just now. Well played from Kinder and Cynortas with excellent follow-up. When they're playing like that, this team is difficult to beat, and they absolutely can play like that consistently.
The aggressive dash from Cynortas to save the jungler, and right as his cooldown was coming up, definitely looks very comfortable so far on this Agni. I love to see the way he's playing it.
It's the Golden Blade coming out from Kinder Warrior. I wonder if he's going to do what we've seen Adapting do a lot in the SPL, which is forego boots entirely. He's really enjoyed that Katana tree, as well as even Toxic Blade, as we've seen come into his builds as well. So perhaps Kinder Warrior will be moving along the same path as Lokiberto goes up to the horse, but gets executed again. You absolutely cannot be soloed twice in lane.
Especially when you just played this lane matchup.
The other way around.
And got exactly 0 solo kills.
Exactly. So it's not as if Achilles just wins this for free, right?
I think FataliTyxFire wins this, is the takeaway. Definitely not where you want to be as the Guan Yu. As I mentioned, if you can get to level 12 or so, get your Breastplate of Valor, start rotating early, you feel nearly unstoppable. But if you end up getting behind in lane, and this is before Kinder Warrior has come over here at all. If I'm Kinder Warrior, I go, oh, there's free farm in the solo lane? Is that what you're telling me? I can get some of that and hop over there and make it work.
That's exactly where Kinder Warrior wants to be. Argus does come through, and that revive was excellent. Pope not only lives, but gets the kill, but Just Lion trades it back out with some help from Cynortas. JHOX comes dashing into the Pele to make things 2 for 1 in favor of Mv3, and they're not done playing just yet.
Really nice revive there by Jose Raitzo. It's twofold. Number one is it forced Cynortas to overcommit and dash in to make sure that they get the kill on Daddy Pope. But also, because of the res, Argus sticks around, it actually gets the killing blow under Kinder Warrior. That was beautiful.
Well, the red buff invade has not been deterred just yet from OutCold, and they'll pay heavily for it. JHOX gets Just Lion, and mrsacx will, I guess, not fall. He'll make it back to safety, but excuse me, that was Mv3 going for the invade on the red buff yet again. That makes some sense. They're the ones who just won the fight, and no way for OutCold to defend it. If you really are following up on this Pope thing.
Oh yeah, I'm texting him right now. If you know that you lost the fight right there, and if there's 3 members of the enemy team, don't go for the red buff.
There's no need to defend it.
Yeah, you're gonna die by going for that. Not a good decision.
FataliTyxFire under some pressure, and this is good because Lokiberto's had some trouble, so he's gonna need some help from Daddy Pope to keep his blue buff standing. But FataliTyxFire undeterred. He wants to come in and look for this fight again. He knows he has the Fatal Strike, and they've been hitting home. He is gonna look for the execute, but can't quite find Daddy Pope, who jukes it out. And Goldfury all this time is being pulled by OutCold Gaming. That's why you didn't see JHOX go to that fight. In fact, FataliTyxFire finds a kill in the 1v2, and the Goldfury still goes down in favor of OutCold.
Wow, that's unbelievable. Now, Just Lion's gonna die here, no doubt about that. Beast gets that kill, and mrsacx is next on the docket. It's just a matter of if Cynortas ends up surviving, and his positioning is definitely risky from this position. JHOX closes the gap, Scarab's Blessing there just in case, and that would have gone really, really well if Just Lion and mrsacx don't go in after that Gold Fury, and Cynortas doesn't go in alongside them. But as it stands, that's absolutely a win for Mv3.
Yeah.
Who cares about Gold Fury? You just got 3 kills in a tier 1 tower.
Absolutely in favor of Mv3. The only saving grace, I would say, for OutCold is that FataliTyxFire continues to be the better solo laner in this set so far. An excellent play from this Achilles to find Daddy Pope in what was a 1v2. I was initially curious why we didn't see JHOX rotating over to join that fight and make it a 1v3, as his passion initially said that he would, but I think they recognized that Goldfury was under siege. He went to go to that, and that ended up being a much better use of his time. Now 3-1-3. I do want to point out, it was also a double kill for OhMyJhox Beast, so now Xbalanque has just been gifted 2 free kills.
Not exactly what you want if you're OutCold. I think that OutCold, as you mentioned, they have these moments where Cynortas and Kinder Warrior and FataliTyxFire, they seem to really just outplay their opponents a lot of the time. Oh man, just in time on that back for Beast. The minions from Kinder Warrior's Regurgitate didn't actually stop the back. Remember, it's just a slow and a cripple that won't stop a back. You need to actually take damage, and that's why that back was completed by Xbalanque. But FataliTyxFire and Cynortas and Kinder Warrior, they spend a lot of moments and end up getting these kills, and you're like, wow, this team's really good. They're going to have a hard time losing. But then they also make these really curious decisions that end up really costing the team. And it's not just them, it's the entirety of the team just has these moments where their decision-making kind of falls apart. And That's why they end up having these closer games than it really feels like they should.
They've been good enough at closing them back sometimes, but as you said, they've been making themselves work harder than they have to half the time, as that is the dash now from OhMyJhox Beast. And just Lion can take this fight if he wants to, but even through the minion waves, it's hard to beat a Xbalanque, and OhMyJhox Beast sends him running.
That Transcendence, a big difference maker in the level of power between Beast and Lion at this point in the duo lane. All the damage that Beast takes, he's holding. He doesn't have any lifesteal, unlike the Jing way, but with the boots completed and having the Transcendence, it's a lot more power that you just have in your outright trades. And Xbalanque does outright trade very well. Just Lion needs to worry about poking more so than anything else, because otherwise it's going to be hard for him to win a one-on-one where both players are just standing there having a duel.
Golden Blade and Hasten Katana now both finished for Kinder Warrior. Looks like he certainly will be going on the Bootslith path. If he wants the stone cutting next, which it looks like he does, then he will be at that 30% movement speed, I believe. He certainly won't be missing boots at all. In fact, he'll even be faster than if he had it. So this is a strategy that we see work for Bakasuras all the time. Like I said, adapting builds almost this exact same pathing too. Plenty of clear speed, plenty of damage. This is a good way to go.
He's already above the normal boots mark,
20%,
which is 18%. So you're definitely you're not missing those boots at all. And as you mentioned, you a little bit less power than if you're going straight Warrior Tab Eye on something like a Golden Blade or a Hasten Katana. They have less outright physical power. But if you're going Ninja Tab Eye, then you're basically the same. The big difference is the passives that these katanas provide. Golden Blade means that you don't have to worry about jumping on every camp in order to increase your attack speed, or increase your camp clear speed, excuse me. And then Hasten Katana means that no one's getting away from you when you regurgitate. So those passives are why it's really worth giving up the cheap, stat-efficient option that is boots.
It's worked for these Bakasuras so far, but it's still JHOX who's the one that's out in front, at least in terms of experience. 3-1-3 on this Pele, and I believe a Soul Leader is what we'll be seeing shortly, coming out in favor of her to add to the sustain. Now the question is, where do they go for the anti-heal, right? I think that's why we saw a Toxic Blade when adapting to this build, because it lets him still do attack speed, but also try and cut down on some of that healing. I wonder if that'll be the same call from Kinder. Maybe he'll want something like a Brawlers, but I don't think Bakasura can really get much value out of it. So his options are somewhat limited.
I agree. I think the Toxic Blade actually looks really good here for Kinder Warrior. I think Divine Ruin is still a must-have on the Cynortas. Agni is just one of the best mages in the entire game at applying Divine Ruin, because he's got multiple abilities that will proc it from a distance, and then his passive as well will keep it ticking on you for a long time, will keep refreshing that duration of the anti-heal. I'm basically looking for an excuse to build Divine Ruin most of the time on Agni because it works so well. I see no reason why Cynortas shouldn't pick it up here.
Well, new Furies just spawned into the map. The Oni Fury this time, which could buff that next set of minion waves if these teams want to fight over it. Despite the great play from OutCold so far, they really don't have that big of a lead. They've had some missteps and given back a little bit more than I think they needed to Mv3. In fact, Mv3 have the experience lead. It's only gold really that favors OutCold. And you don't see that a lot, where the two different metrics are favoring different teams. And often what it really belies, at least to me, is that it has been a bit of a sporadic game. A game that's all over the place.
And for OutCold to be down on XP when their solo laner is up a solid level and a half or so, means that the rest of the team is down a pretty significant amount of XP across the board. It should be a level and a half to a level just about everywhere else.
Well, if you're OutCold, this is exactly what you want. It's that you want FataliTyxFire in these fights, but he's not able to get the execute. He wasn't in low enough threshold. Cynortas has the Aegis that allows him to get out of there. A good Mez comes out, but Cynortas still sticking around, trying to get what damage out that he can. They drop down the Ultra from OhMyJhox Beast as well, and Cynortas should be out of there. What about the rest of the team? They can't lock down Rito or Lokiberto, and they should be done at least for now, though JHOX has shown up.
Now both mid laners relicless at this point. Both end up surviving, but just barely. Look at that damage onto JHOX. FataliTyxFire not one to mess with at this point, but mrsacx pretty low. Blinking from Kinder Warrior. Can't get any real damage out onto Beast. Instead, trains his attention towards this Guan Yu, but overjumps him.
And now the Argus has come into play, and that means that Daddy Pope has rejoined the battle. So not much gained after that extended skirmish, largely because FataliTyxFire can apparently 1v3, but also because it was a bit suboptimal there from Kinder Warrior on the Bakasura.
And this is actually a pretty decent spot, I think, for OutCold. FataliTyxFire is going to get his ultimate up pretty soon, and he's going to go in aggressively. Takes a good amount of damage, though, he's going to need to get going pretty soon. Doesn't have that Fatal Strike yet, and Lokiberto's ultimate back up and ready. He cuts him down from atop the horse. Is Cynortas now under siege? And a good silence actually ends up preventing that death, but still, Just Lion ends up taking down JhoX in the back.
So it's 1-for-1. JhoX and FataliTyxFire both end up falling. Jungle for solo, and perhaps both teams' highest value member as well, considering the way they've played so far. But it's Mv3 who have control of the Oni Fury. Kinder will at least get the tier 1 in right, but Just Lion, even against 4 members, is going to try and force his way in to steal an Oni Fury. I don't know if it's worth your Aegis and your life, Just Lion, but certainly he will fall. Go ahead.
That's just really bad. That's just really bad. I don't know.
So let's say
if
that
you
his
had to
best
give him a
case
percentage, if you had to give him a percentage of stealing that Oni Fury, what do you think it is? Out of 100.
3% chance?
Sub 5%. I think is
so.
very fair. What do you think the chances are that he dies no matter the outcome of
100%. He never gets out in that scenario.
Right. So it's not worth it.
No.
That's I just did the quick maths over here. And
well, can I also say that, like, the Oni Fury for sure is not equivalent to the Jing Wei's life?
No, of course not. Gold Fury at this point of the game is worth more. Oni Fury is at its best in the early game when you have a big lead and you can spread out the enemy team and force your Oni waves to push down and get objectives. Then it's very powerful. It's also great in the late game whenever you want to siege and, again, spread out the enemy team, keep them at bay, and get objectives off of it. At this point in the game, there's no way that Mv3 can end up getting a Fire Giant because you're spread out. You can clear the waves still fairly easily. Pyromancer's the worst they could take from. It's just not worth it.
Kinder Warrior wants JhoX. The revive is there, but he'll wait it out patiently, avoids the stun, and then jumps right back in, but still has the ultimate, but still has the blink. Kinder Warrior catches right back up with him, gets the kill, and now he's looking to trade with a Lokiberto who's had trouble farming all game long. Argus comes in and chunks him down to half HP, and now the Bakasura must retreat.
But he's got an easy wall to jump over. Sprint use as well. Good idea by mrsacx just to ensure a disengage by the rest of OutCold. So a nice 1-for-0 in favor of OutCold Gaming. It's really just that Just Lion's been making these decisions all set.
Right.
That at some point the team has to tell him, back up. Like, and if they are telling him that and he's not, then that's a whole nother story. But someone on the team has to, if he's not going to look out for himself, someone else has to look out for him. And that's a bad situation to put your teammates in where they have to cover for you. They have to make your decisions for you in that sense, but it's better than just having your ADC with a death wish.
And to be fair, he's played Freya and Jing Wei, 2 gods that, I know that Freya doesn't have a ton of movement options, but she can be very safe. The ultimate gets you out of danger a lot of the time. If you're patient with your banishes, they can also get you out of danger very often. These are 2 gods. It's not like he's on a Muzen Cobb, where it's easier to get out of trouble than it is to get into it.
Right. No, it has not been. It hasn't been the picks.
Yeah, I agree.
Is what I would say. He's been on picks that can excel playing aggressively or defensively.
So good picks.
Yeah, good picks. He's been playing good picks. We can leave it at that.
I think it's safe to say.
Yeah.
As OhMyJhox Beast on the other side, 3-0-3, finished off the Executioner Aussie Transcendence path. He will certainly be swinging at this point in the game. You don't want to catch too many of those. Just Lion, though, has the Odysseus bow procced as well, or ready to go, so he'll certainly be bringing in plenty of damage of his own, just a matter of if he can stay alive. And who's going to be having the most opportunities for them to follow up? Cynortas has the Divine Ruin. He'll have plenty of damage from range, so they'll have some anti-heal options. Not really anything else on the table for that. Pestilence is there, so that's good for mrsacx. But nothing from Just Lion, nothing from Kinder Warrior yet.
As I mentioned, I think Toxic Blade is ideal in this exact position for Kinder Warrior. Yes, he might miss something like a chin size, but you can rely on the base damage from Butcher Blades and just outright attack speed enough to kind of make it work. From this position, I think Toxic Blade is probably all the anti-heal you'll need outside of Divine Ruin and Pestilence. You can't be going too deep into it. You can't lose all your DPS, but I think that those 2 items plus a Toxic Blade would be enough to at least say we made a dedicated effort to shut down the Guan.
JhoX in some trouble on the right-hand side. FataliTyxFire in a position to solo just about anyone on the map right now. Meanwhile, the rest of the team fighting in mid. And now comes the blink in from Kinder Warrior. Argus has been dropped as well, but Daddy Pope has nowhere to go. A killing spree for Kinder. They are going to pull FataliTyxFire back in, and OhMyJhox Beast shows those autos I was singing the praises of earlier and finds a kill to make it 1-for-1 Hera for the Achilles.
Just too early on the Scarab's
They're back
blessing, but they're going back in. Good airstrike that time from Just Lion. Actually ends up being the damage and the safety that he needed. Lokiberto getting away on just a sliver of HP, but Beast doesn't look like he wants to give it up.
That's the Aegis out from him. I think he thought maybe the stun was going to come through there and wanted to make sure he was safe in case he got hit by it. But that is the tier 1 tower down and a 2-for-1 in favor of OutCold. So a 1 fight for them. In fact, the Gold Fury about to respawn as well. So if they steal this red buff and claim that objective, a hefty bounty will favor the Chaos side team this time. It looks like they are positioning indeed to grab it. No, Mv3 are nearby and won't give it up for free. In fact, OhMyJhox Beast catches out Just Lion, who's too far forward.
He's frontlining with no relics, no ultimate.
Half
Again,
HP,
the decision making has been poor at best so far for the ADC from OutCold, and that gifts the Gold Fury away to Mv3. I don't think that OutCold could have done Gold Fury with Just Lion there. There's no way that Mv3 just gets to walk in and take it if the ADC is there and giving threat. Just leaving the door wide open for Mv3 to take objectives away.
Well, I think OutCold gets to at least make the decision, right? On how do they want to stagger their backs, what kind of presence do they want to show with Gold Fury if Just Lion's alive. But in a world where he gets picked for free, well, then there's nothing they can do, and they absolutely have to leave, and then that is free for Mv3. So unfortunate for the rest of the squad, but Just Lion has certainly done some good damage for his team as well. He's 4th on the player damage chart, 2nd on his team, behind FataliTyxFire, who's been playing out of his mind so far. So you take the good with some of the bad, at least in this case for Just Lion.
Jose Raito on this Khepri has been a problem, I'd say, for OutCold so far. Scarab's blessing a little bit early in that last team fight, but his abduct on a FataliTyxFire right at the end. It was only brief, but again, another good abduct brings a tank right into the clutches of his ADC. Lokiberto loses him for a second, but finally tracks down mrsacx, but a good stun from Cynortas. Well, I think he canceled that, Finch. I think he had another swing left in him that would have gotten the kill.
I think he was looking for the stun, maybe, or just thought it was enough damage, but I agree. It looks like he canceled it out. But Cynortas played that well, as he often does here on this Agni. He's able to make sure that he gets mrsacx out of there, who is low and holds on to the passive. That's another thing to consider. Even if he had gotten him, likely mrsacx would have just gone to the passive. Not 100% if it's up or not, but likely it would have been. Now OutCold have the positioning advantage around the FG. Still not enhanced just yet, but still something you certainly want to grab as Just Lion takes half HP.
He did so in order to keep FataliTyxFire out of the abduct from Jose Raito. Actually left that knock-up right behind where the Khepri was going to start pulling. So it was a cute little play and a good one to save good damage onto his solo laner, but ended up costing him a little bit more health than he probably would have liked. But with the full Devour as gauntlets, he can heal himself back up to full, basically off this Pyromancer.
Pyromancer will go down. Jose Raito going to continue the frontlining efforts and still has the Scarab's Blessing as well, so a lot of safety still available for Mv3. OutCold now pushing past the Fire Giant into the choke points, exactly where you want to fight when you've got an Agni nearby as Loki pushes up forward. Jox is here with him as well, and now he has a chance to try and take down Kinder Warrior, but this is the fight Kinder wants. He drops down the Regurgitate and sends them both back out. Fatality also has 2 members zoned on the right-hand side.
Jose low, but that dash actually ends up blocking the execute. That means Jose gets the ultimate off, but he still ends up falling to Just Lion pretty quickly, but now mrsacx in a bad spot. Good epic uppercut takes the soul laner out of the fight, and now all of a sudden OutCold are in control.
Jox have to fall back. Lokiberto's low. He can't continue to frontline. He's now been stunned. He'll have to leave as well. A great fight so far from OutCold, and they don't appear to be done, at least not FataliTyxFire, who's got Just Lion right here with him, and they find Lokiberto. Kinder Warrior jumps in aggressively despite being low, but it's the stun from Cynortas that's way more exciting. Root comes through as well, and that Hera's dead to rights. Double now for Just Lion. And they're going to fall back towards the FG after an impressive fight.
This might be a position where you want to back and go to FG because there are a lot of low health and mana bars across the board for OutCold. Kinder Warrior is going to stick around.
Oh, he doesn't get the back off.
Try and get that tier 2 in mid. FataliTyxFire doesn't get committed on though because it's just a little bit too scared from OhMyJhox. I just wonder, do they have the DPS to get this in time? Jox is on the way and he should have his ultimate up soon.
He should, and mrsacx is very low. Cynortas doesn't have a lot of mana available to him, so Jox has a ton of cleanup potential. That's going to proc the passive, sleepy time for mrsacx, but they're going to hold on to this FG even still. Jox now moving in to try and steal it. I don't know if he can do this on his own. He ends up falling to Cynortas, but now Jose comes in and cleans up a kill 1-for-1. Fire Giant still low, still leashed, and now OhCold have to stick around to make sure that Mv3 don't get it, though it has begun healing.
Just Lion sticks around to clear a ward and nearly ends up dying for it. he's actually just about dead, but Jose just can't get in there and close it out. Beast
Sprint
gets sprinted and then gives up the chase.
then
Cynortas lazy backing. Ugly.
Yeah,
All of this is ugly.
It's been a bit rough as now Kinder Warrior comes in with the Gurgitate, but the Scarab's Blessing's enough to slow him down. He jumps away from Argus. Great timing there. Almost precognitive, it feels like, from him as he jumps away. And now it's Mv3 who fall back towards the FG. Enhanced now has not fallen just yet in favor of any team. OutCold, man, sticking around on that FG, even staring in the face of a Pele. Very brave, that I would say for them in that engagement, to try and go for that.
Bravery is one word for it. Yeah. Like I said, you just have to back from that position and understand that you won't be able to take an enhanced Fire Giant. mrsacx loses a passive and his life. Justline had a beads because he was going to get hit by a Fire Giant knockup. Losing relics to a PvE element is not usually where you want to be.
Right. As Primal Fury goes down in favor of OutCold, this should make things easier for them the next time they want to consider the FG. It is the enhanced version and much tankier here in Season 6, so the Primal Fury is always much appreciated when it comes through. I do want to point out it was the Atalantis for Kinder Warrior instead of the Toxic Blade we were considering. Do you think he's been having trouble sticking to people? Does he need the Atalantas at this point? Or?
No, but Jox is really fast, and so that extra movement speed that he gets will end up actually paying off for him. It's also cheap. Attack speed, power, movement speed, which Bakasura is always down for. I do think that the lack of Toxic Blade is going to hurt him a little bit. I'd love to see him sell the Golden Blade for Toxic Blade. You lose a little bit of that cleave, but you don't really need it at this point anymore. You're not worried about clearing camps. Golden Blade is a low impact item in the late game anyways. If you sell this for Toxic Blade, you get that. You get a little bit more pen from Toxic Blade. I think it's the perfect setup. I think that those 6 items would work very well in tandem.
Jose's front lining brought down to about 50 HP. The rest of the team was there to follow up in terms of Daddy Pope, but it wasn't quite enough, and so OutCold could continue to push up. Kinder Warrior very far off on the left. He's keeping that mid-wave pushed up as well, so they'll have some options if they do win a fight, but he might get caught out by the rest of the team. They're pinging him out. They know exactly where he's coming into the fray from, but he falls back and doesn't get locked down.
Again, the poke war will favor Mv3 just as it did OutCold in the last game. But Kinder Warrior is not looking for a poke war. He's looking to commit. Goes right on top of Daddy Pope, and an early Scarab's Blessing's actually critical, but he just turns his attention towards the enemy ADC, but Beast wins that one-on-one.
He is able to turn it around, and there's no X2 coming out from FataliTyxFire. Doesn't matter. Cynortas has plenty of damage. FataliTyxFire hunts him down and takes down OhMyJhox Beast as well. Epic uppercut sends one up into the air. That's JhoX as a double kill comes out from Cynortas. And this is classic OutCold, where it feels like maybe things didn't start out well, but they're closing things out good. Jose Rito can't even make it back to base. That's 4 for OutCold.
I believe that should be game Finch. I don't think they have to worry about anything from this position. Maybe that their tanks are a little bit weak. Lokiberto's ultimate's coming up. Maybe they should just go for Fire Giant from this position. Lokiberto can easily kill Cynortas from here. He's got no relics.
They're going to go for the end anyway in the 1v4. Remember, they don't have Kinder Warrior's damage for this, but perhaps they will end up missing it. Up onto the horse goes Loki, but a good dash gets him away from most of the damage. In fact, he ends up falling. That's a deicide. Lokiberto at least gets FataliTyxFire, but that's the game. OutCold grab it over Mv3.
Another 2-0 for OutCold, but another fairly close set, I'd say, and they really have to clean up a lot of these things, Finch. I think that their objective focus is a little bit off. Justlion's decision-making needs to get consistently better. Not just a little bit, but consistently better. And the team as a whole just needs to start working better together. I think that they're leaning a lot right now on individual performances from Cynortas, Kinder Warrior, and FataliTyxFire.
And that's the kind of strategy that I think has diminishing returns. Right now, the SPL is at this point, right, where there's not a huge skill gap between the individual players.
Right.
PS4 is still young enough to where I think there could be, but that's going to start diminishing over time, right?
Absolutely.
That's going to be less and less. And it'll eventually become teamwork that starts differentiating these teams. I think that they have some of that on OutCold, but that's where their focus should be, on developing that synergy. And they'll really be hard to beat when they've got that synergy and the individual skill.
That's right. It just takes time, and that's where practice is going to come into play, and you really need to be going over these VODs. It's not just your SCL VODs, but practice VODs consistently.
Exactly.
That's where it seems like they need to make their most ground up, is really learning how to work together as a team.
Well, that does it, at least for this first set. Desk, I'm sure you guys got some thoughts on the action that we just saw. Go ahead and break it down for us.
It's exactly what we'll do. Tom and Tolly here, breaking it down for you after that first match. 2-0, easy peasy.
It was a lot of the composition in the later stages, but in the early game, FataliTyxFire definitely getting the better end in that solo lane matchup. 2 solo kills for an Achilles against the Guan Yu. That's like the perfect start that you really want to get. Once it actually came to team fights, it was a jungler, Kinder Warrior on this Bakasura. You thought he had a good game the last time on the Hunbass. This game, he was just chomping on everyone.
I love the showing of 2 different sets of skills. You're going to hear me say this a number of times throughout the regular season. Hunbat's a facilitator. Build a Jotun's Wrath, just build a bunch of cooldown, and then pop that totem every chance you get. Let your teammates go ahead and find the damage. And then Bakasura, well, he's got next to no setup. His job is to just chow, chow, chow. So go hyper carry here in the last game. In the first game, go a little bit setup man. This guy can do both, and that's when it gets scary.
It was really scary for everyone out of Mv3 when they had to deal with such a high-level Achilles. And the outplays here from Kinder Warrior. Like, look at this chase down potential. Pele with speed buff, with the ultimate, blinking past the Guan Yu during the basic attack. That was really flashy.
Yeah, really clean here from Kinder Warrior, setting up his team OutCold Gaming for the secondary win, and thus the match-taking here for his squad. Mv3 on the losing side, as you heard Ryan say. Just go back to the tape room, man. There's a couple of issues that they definitely can select here. Totally definitely highlighted the solo lane really nicely. 2, 4, and 4 for Lokiberto. Should have, could have, would have been a little bit better.
I think that they need to reevaluate when they pick this Khepri, right? Like, if you know that there's so many executes available, like, yeah, you could play Thanatos, OutCold, and Achilles, but at least ban the Achilles before picking a Khepri and a Guan Yu. Those are 2 very early passive gods that you don't want to give Achilles that early game aggression to transition very well in the late game.
Especially going ahead up against the Guan Yu, he can cancel what he does and cancels the victory. Let's take a look at the standings here as OutCold Gaming ascend and keep their spot. 4-0-7. A nice look for OutCold Gaming all the way up there on top.
And offline bedtime calling, finding their victory over VGS God. So all things still kind of the same in terms of who's on top and who's on the bottom from the PlayStation European side of things.
That's going to wrap up our PlayStation part of the broadcast, or at least the European side. Coming up next, we've got Xbox Europe. But first, play Smite on Switch.